The scene inside the stadium in Stuttgart, capacity crowd of over 50,000 we're expecting for each of the days of competition and nights. A perfect evening for this opening ceremony. Great excitement in this city, a stadium which has staged a number of major events. It's got the roof put on in the last 12 months, it's been refurbished, resurfaced. It's in great condition for these World Championships. The opening ceremony promises a lot tonight. It should be very entertaining. And we start with 5 parachuters who are going to make their way into the stadium. And Johnny Logan, was born in Australia in 1956, is about to commence proceedings with the song Celebrate to Win. Johnny, who won the Eurovision Song Contest way back in 1980. So, real Australian connection here. Born in the year of the Olympics. Back home.
There are times you can't even smile. Keep on moving, mile after mile. It's a rocky road, it's a lonely way to go. Don't wanna give up, you're starting to climb. You see a light, it's starting to shine. You're suddenly there, throw your arms in the air. Oh, the feeling when you cross that line. Celebrate and win. You can get it if you take the chance. Celebrate and win. You can't forget all the work and the pain. Just join the dance. Your heart is proud within. Celebrate and win. Standing there, tears in your eyes. The world is watching, the flag starts to rise. You come all this way, and today you're a hero. Just for a moment, the magic is near. Above the clouds, all heaven is here, and it's real tonight. You won your fight with the power and the fire inside. Celebrate and win. You can get it if you take the chance. Celebrate and win. You can't forget all the work and the pain. Just join the dance. Your heart is proud within. Celebrate and win. Celebrate and win. Celebrate and win. You can get it if you take the chance. Celebrate and win. You can't forget all the work and the pain. Just join the dance. Your heart is proud within. Celebrate and win. Celebrate and win. You can get it if you take the chance. Celebrate and win. You can't forget all the work and the pain. Just join the dance. Your heart is proud within. Celebrate and win.
And this is not easy, I can tell you, because the centre stage here, as Johnny Logan gets a great round of applause, the centre stage here has the map of the world, a number of stages set for the concert to follow, and the parachuters have got to time it just right, and they're doing just that at the moment. World harmony, this opening ceremony built around a massive concert that's going to take place here in Stuttgart and right around the world in the 5 continents that are represented. So we're getting off to a spectacular start. Tremendous scene inside the stadium in Stuttgart for this, the opening ceremony of the 4th World Athletics Championships. A full house, a perfect night, great excitement here. And what we're seeing at the moment is a contingent of the 16,000 Germans who started running on August the 5th from all parts of the country, making their way towards Stuttgart to take part in the celebrations of this opening ceremony. There'll be more than 1,200 people out there, including some of the greats. Willy Weizsäcker, who's part of this group, who won the 800 metres in 1983 at the very first World Championships in Helsinki. John Walker was running in the 1,500 metres that year. Weizsäcker's out there tonight, John. It was a great victory, wasn't it?
It certainly was, and it was a surprise victory as well. Wouldn't it be lovely if the Germans got a surprise victory here in this stadium? They would really set it alight.
Well, they've only had less than 2 years to organise this World Championships, and more than 180 countries are participating, and in excess of 1,800. So there are record numbers in terms of federations represented here and numbers of athletes. And to think they've organised the whole show in a year and 3 quarters, because the World Championships have been put forward to once every 2 years, is testimony to the organisational ability of this city in particular, Stuttgart, which has played host to so many major events in sport, including the European Championships in 1986. The stadium's a bit different. You worked then on British television, and it's a totally new-look stadium.
It's a new-look stadium. It's also got a roof on it for the very first time, provided by the Mercedes company. And it's a superb stadium. It's got great atmosphere, 60,000 capacity, and this will truly be a great game, I believe. Great atmosphere, warm conditions. I want to thrill a lot of these people to be getting out here. This is their big moment in sport. May never happen again to a lot of them, but to run in front of a crowd of this nature will be the greatest day they've ever had.
You get a feeling of the intimacy of this stadium from some of the shots we've just seen, and that's going to be one of the great joys of the World Championships over the next 9 days.
There's the roof we were talking about. It's a bit like Montreal, 1976 Olympics.
The basis for the opening ceremony tonight is World Harmony. There's a giant concert that's been organised by Eberhard Schoner, a famous composer born here in Stuttgart 54 years ago. He's made a name for himself for putting on extravaganzas right around the world. He first conceived the idea, and there's the mascot, the rabbit, Runny the Rabbit. Not a very original name, but he does go fast like some of the athletes. The idea for this concert tonight was first conceived at the World Fair in Japan in 1985 when Schoner put that show on. Jotha Yindi will be representing Australia and Oceania tonight. Krista Berg's here representing Europe. Chuck Berry, America. We're in for some sort of a night. This is a stadium the Rolling Stones had the huge concert in the year you won your gold medal, John, in 1976. You didn't come and celebrate here, did you?
No, that was a long time ago, but many memories in this stadium. Of course, as you said, it's played the host of many great sporting occasions.
Well, the Germans say it's the 3rd biggest event they've ever put on, behind only the Olympic Games in '72 and the World Cup in '74. I say in terms of sport, these World Championships, that's how highly they're rated. And they boast that this is the sporting event of the year, and it's hard to say that it's not. Juan Antonio Samaranch on the left, the president of the International Olympic Committee. A lot of Australians will be hoping that he's looking towards Sydney in a month's time. There are 31 International Olympic Committee delegates here in the stadium, and Juan Antonio Samaranch will be here for the complete World Athletics Championships. It tells you something of the status of these titles when the president of the International Olympic Committee is here from the start to the finish.
And quite a few people will be back in Sydney holding their breath. In a few weeks' time, they will be deciding where the Olympics of the year 2000 will be held. And may I wish Sydney all the best, because they deserve it, and their preparation has been absolutely superb.
Spoken like a true New Zealander, John. Well done. We've got so many of you guys living and gals living in Sydney and the rest of Australia. It'll be good for New Zealand as well as for Australia.
I attended a sporting luncheon just recently.
Prince Albert of Monaco, who'll be one of the men who will be deciding just which city will get the vote. There's Runny, the mascot. And the Mexican wave, which came to fore in Europe in the mid-80s at the Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh, and in particular at the European Championships in Stuttgart in this stadium. Every major championships now has its own mascot, and the rabbit here symbolising speed. And won't we see that on this track with Lewis and Christie and Otti and Divas, as the traditional march past, I say the traditional march past, a little different this year, John, because they're going in continents, in the 5 continents, and Africa first up. Algeria, I noticed there, and we're all wondering whether Morcelli will be running. I doubt whether he'll be marching in the opening ceremony. He'll be giving his hand away a little too easily.
Well, we all hope that he's going to be running, because he is one of the true greats, and I believe he's yet to prove it. He didn't run so well in the Olympics last year, but he's dominated the 1,500 metres this year, and it would be a great shame if he didn't run.
That whole African situation's fascinating at the moment in distance running. The Kenyans have been dominant with the Ethiopians and the Tanzanians in long-distance races, but particularly the Kenyans, but they're now being challenged by Algeria and Morocco in North Africa, and we have the South Africans for the first time at the World Championships.
Isn't it great to see so many countries competing? I mean, we spoke of so many Olympics that have been boycotted over the years, and this is what sport is really all about, where all the nations and the mighty athletes of the world get together for at least once without trouble.
Kenyans will have a tremendously strong team. Steeplechase, 5,000 metres, 10,000 metres, 1,500, 800. Ethiopians in the long distance races have got a new star in the 10,000 metres.
Billy Cancello, of course, the world champion who defends his title for the 3rd time, and is looking more like a favourite every day for the 800 metres.
He's the great Kenyan who won in Rome in 87 and again in 1991 in Tokyo. Suffered from malaria in between the Olympic Games in 84 and the World Championships in 87.
Some great athletes, and we'll see many gold medalists come out of this group as well.
189 federations nominated for these World Championships. 183 are here at the moment. We're not sure if the other 6 are coming or not. It's doubtful at this stage. But it is a record number. The first World Championships, there were 153 nations in Helsinki back in 1983, 160 in Rome in 87, 164 in Tokyo in 1991, and we're way up to 183 here in 1993. Well, that's what Coe did when he won the gold medal in Los Angeles in 1984.
Number 1.
Just one finger to the grandstand to let everybody know.
I think it was also one finger to the press as well to let them know as well.
The Brazilians not as maybe as strong this year, but Barbosa's still very much a part of the 800 metre action.
Barbosa's recorded one of the fastest times this year. The 800 metres, very even field this year. It's going to be a fantastic race.
Some of the smaller delegations, Costa Rica, Cayman Islands, Costa Rica flag bearer. Ecuador and El Salvador. Guatemala, Grenada, Haiti and Honduras. There've been some famous stories about Haiti and Honduras as far as a marathon's concerned. Not always up the front, normally at the back. See the Jamaicans about to come through. Merlene Otti, their magnificent sprinter. And their great Raymond Stewart. They'll have a big part to play in the relays here, particularly in the women's 4x100 and the 4x400 this year. such raw talent from the Jamaican team. Don Quarry's been the man behind their success in many ways. As we look at their lineup now, and I think, John, everyone will be hoping that Otti can come home with an individual gold medal. Grace Jackson, another champion from Jamaica, one who's not here this time, but Otti, a great favourite.
She's promised so much. Didn't live up to expectations in the Olympics last year. But I believe at 33 years of age, she's got the best chance of taking home the gold this time.
Michael Green, by the way, the outstanding 100-metre runner's injured, not there. The Canadians, well, what they've been through since 1988, and Ben Johnson and Seoul. Mark McCoy not here, their great 110-metre hurdler. Bruni Serin's here, though, their world indoor 60-metre champion. There's Mike Smith, I saw a moment ago, the decathlete who challenged Dan O'Brien and is one of the great favourites for a gold medal. He's just going out of shot now. There's Sotomayor, the Cuban, the world record holder. 2:45, he's jumped 8 feet, half an inch, this man on screen now. Wait for him in the high jump final on the final day. He's one of the greatest stars in the sport. And the Cubans have got a tremendous team here again.
If you don't realise how big 8 feet is, look at your ceiling, because that's how high your ceiling span is.
It's me standing on top of you, I reckon, John.
8 feet, that is unbelievable. Where did we ever see that was going to happen?
Well, the Cubans will be powerful. There's no question about that. So we've seen 3 of the big guns come through. The Jamaicans, the Canadians, the Cubans. Mexico very strong in the walks. That's their main goal. I don't think Saron is down to run in the marathon later. So they'll miss out there.
Barrios, of course, in the 10,000 metres. Former world record holder. Always a great athlete. Always a great competitor.
Be a big roar when the United States team comes through. Lewis has been such a star in the build-up to these games. And we're about to get to the US. Panama and Peru and Puerto Rico and Paraguay. All those countries involved in World Cups at the moment. World Cup qualifiers. 2004. Well, we're going a long way ahead. We're more interested in 2000 at this stage. You can see how much the Olympics, the excitement it generates as to just who might get those games in 2000 as we look ahead to 2004. The big tippers of South Africans are going to be a part of that bid in 2004. Trinidad, well, Ian Morris, their 400-metre runner. Mike Conley, just on shot a moment ago, the triple jumper, the Olympic champion. The Americans can see themselves on the big screen at the moment. Notice Calvin Smith there a moment ago. See him right in the middle of the screen. Smith, has been well known in Australia, came out for the Australia Games in '85, world record holder in 1983, twice a world champion at the 200 metres. Lewis and Michael Johnson and Mike Marsh and Leroy Burrell, all part of the, or 3 of them part of the Santa Monica Track Club. Quincy Watts will be running here. Andre Casson, Dennis Mitchell, etc. So from the might of the United States individually and America collectively, we go to Asia, and we've just seen China coming through, very much one of the mystery nations and mystery countries at these World Championships, because they've had excellent success in Tokyo in 1991. We've seen very little of them in European competition so far in 1993. Asia continuing to gather strength in track and field. Chinese, particularly Korea and Japan, and it's in the marathon where Korea, Japan could play a major part.
As we saw the Olympic champion come from Korea last year, the rivalry between Japan and Korea is second to none.
And the Chinese now very much the giants of track and field in Asia. Their swimmers pulled out of the Pan Pacific Championships currently going on in Japan. Their athletes have arrived in Stuttgart. There's an enormous amount of conjecture as to why their swimmers pulled out, but everything looking towards Beijing and that September the 23rd bid. Beijing having a strong representation here, just like Sydney, Manchester, Berlin in particular, and Istanbul. Indonesia have got a very good sprinter. Japanese very strong in the 400-metre hurdles, women's distance, men's distance races. They hosted these very World Championships 2 years ago, and what a spectacular success they were on that occasion. Lewis's world record in the 100, Howe's historic world record in the long jump. We saw the flags going around a little earlier. The athletes come into the stadium and they swap their country's name for the flag of the country that they're so proudly carrying around. And for Australia tonight, a real treat. We'll have two flag bearers, and they're both young, and they're both at their first World Championships. That a little later. As we're looking at the nations from Asia, India, Pakistan, Malaysia, where the Commonwealth Games will be held in 1998. Kuala Lumpur outvoting Adelaide for those 1998 Commonwealth Games. The Malaysian delegation just going through. A number of Arab countries involved here. We saw Iran go through, Saudi Arabia. And still the women struggle in many of those countries to get a berth at these World Championships. The Pakistanis do have one female representative here. Following the march past of athletes, we'll have the official opening of the World Championships and then the worldwide concert that should be a highlight, and perhaps the highlight of the opening ceremony tonight. It's a much more ambitious opening ceremony than we had in Tokyo in 91 and in Rome in 87 and in Helsinki in 1983. Again, some of the smaller delegations, Singapore and Sri Lanka. Many of these athletes qualifying in their regional competitions earlier this year. Southeast and Asian Games being one of those competitions. Also a feature of the Asian delegation are a number of the former Soviet states, the ones that are closest to Asia. The Soviet Union now comprising of 15 separate states, so no Soviet Union at all. We had a unified team last year at the Olympic Games, and some of those separate states now represented in Asia, and a number of them represented in Europe, including the big one, Russia. There are 15 in total, from Armenia right through to Russia, including Ukraine, Moldova, Lithuania, Latvia. They're all part of the European scene, and Georgia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, part of the Asian scene, along with Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. So again, this changing face of world politics, world sport, and for this exercise tonight and over the next 8 days in world athletics. That's the view we're looking at from the grandstand here in Stuttgart. in the opening ceremony of the 1993 World Athletics Championships. Oceania, the next group to come out, dominated by the Australians, as the Asian continent, with Vietnam closing its ranks, making its way into the centre of this athletic field and making its way around the continent of Asia. So Africa and America are now populated. As we see the Australian team coming out, Carl van der Kuyp and Kathy Freeman will both be carrying the flag. In the year of the Indigenous people, it's fitting that Kathy and Carl at their first World Championships as Rowan Robinson, Nick Rennie, hi mum, Philip Henderson was there, and hopefully we're going to have some very good pictures to take home to Australia over the next 9 days, with Australians producing their best performances and hopefully a lot of them getting into the finals and maybe a couple of them getting some medals. A lot of the islands represented. "25 Australians here in Stuttgart. We won a gold medal at the first World Championships with Rob De Castella in 1983. 2 silvers in Rome in 87. Kerry Saxby, who's here tonight, and Debbie Flintoff-King. Carl van der Kuyp we can see in the foreground along with Kathy Freeman. Carl running in the 110-metre hurdles. He's broken the Australian record again in this European season. Kathy in excellent form in the 200 metres, and we saw Daniela Costian just behind the two flag bearers. There's Daniela, bronze medalist. Dean Capobianco, Damien Marsh in that group. Cook Islands, New Zealanders won't be too far away, John.
New Zealand represented by 16 athletes, mainly sprinters and young athletes, but they'll be looking towards young Mark Kendall in the 200 metres, run 20.8, and of course Courtney Ireland in the shot put. Big boy who now resides in the United States.
It's changed so much in New Zealand, hasn't it? Because when you were such a star, along with Dixon and Quacks, it was the distance runners.
There's Courtney Ireland. Could feature in the Commonwealth Games next year, ranks number 3 in the Commonwealth. New Zealand very proud, of course, of the tradition, as with Australia.
But John, there has been a change, hasn't there? Because middle distance, and we had Snell before you, and then Walker came along, and there were Dixon and Quacks at the same time. Halberg, of course, in Rome in 1960, and yet it's mainly sprinters and a few field eventers that are now dominating New Zealand's track and field scene.
You're right. Basically, the sprinters dominate here. There's only 3 middle distance runners that have come to this Games. And when you think of the proud tradition that New Zealand has had, it's not very good, I believe. But who knows, in another 10 years, maybe we'll produce another champion, as with Elliott and Clark, as you've done over the years.
Tiny delegation from Vanuatu. So Australia and New Zealand dominating the Oceania group. Jane Fleming ill yesterday, but hopefully going to compete in the heptathlon for Australia. As we look at the New Zealand group, Peter O'Donoghue representing Australia must have mixed thoughts. Had a tragedy in his family this week, and Peter now a citizen of Australia.
Peter got frustrated with New Zealand athletics. He felt he wasn't getting a decent show, and he moved to Australia and has taken out Australian citizenship. Of course, in the 5,000 metres, and as you said, rightly so, his mother tragically died yesterday, so he'll be feeling it. But what a brave man to start in the 5,000 metres.
So the build-up continues here as the Oceania group makes its way around the stadium. Shortly, the group from Europe, which will include the Germans, so they'll get an enormous cheer. And there's Carl and Kathy Freeman. Melinda Gainsford right behind Kathy Freeman. Dean Capobianco on the left. Tim Jackson just behind Dean. Tim running in the relay. Australia has a 4x100 metre relay. Simon Arkell out there. Rowan Robinson. There are a few missing. Resting. Concentrating on other things.
Simon Doyle, of course, your big hope in the 1500 metres. What a great season he's had, and he's just coming to the peak at the right time for this World Championships.
So from Oceania to Europe. And interesting here too with the breakup of Yugoslavia. We just saw Bosnia. 5 nations now: Bosnia, Croatia, Macedonia, who are still in dispute with Greece over their name, Slovenia, Yugoslavia, which comprises of Serbia, Montenegro, and the breakaway of the Czechoslovakian group, now the Czech Republic and the Slovak Republic, and the Soviet Union with Georgia, Ukraine, Latvia, Lithuania, Russia, and united Germany as we had in Tokyo in 1991. Albania, who rarely went to anything a few years ago. It was the most secretive of all the countries. And a shot of the Australians as they make their way up the main straight and are about to leave the track. Kathy Freeman and Kyle van der Kolk. What a great moment for both of them and the other Australians who are here tonight. Daniela Costian taking the photos that she will remember, or the video of the team. I'm sure that one will be a popular one when they show that later on tonight or throughout these championships. So good luck to the Aussies. We wish them well. We'll be with them all the way. So we leave the Australians and come back to the Europeans. The Finns and their brilliant javelin throwers. Not quite so strong in distance running as they were in the 70s and early 80s.
72 and 76 Olympics, of course, they dominated with Vasala and Viren. Pave Nume way back in the 20s and 30s.
Got a very good walker. Women's walk will be one of the favourites. Tremendous javelin throwers still. So watch for the Finns here.
A lot of these athletes can see themselves on the screen, and of course that's why you're getting the extra smile. But aren't they happy? This is what the World Championship is all about, a festivity of athletics.
Steve Smith carrying the British flag, the high jumper, who may not have been Steve, who outgunned Tim Forsyth at the World Junior Championships in the World Junior record last year. And again, the Brits have had a change because it's no longer their 1500 metre runners like Cohen, Ovet and Cram. It's their sprinters and their 400 metre hurdler, Sally Gunnell.
Gunnell, who could possibly break the world record here in the 400 metre hurdles. Outstanding athlete.
The Irish, Frank O'Mara going around again, and their big chances, Sonia O'Sullivan in the 1500 and the 3000.
That's another one who could possibly break the world record in the 3,000 metres. The Irish, of course, will be putting great pressure on her. Frank O'Mara, Marcus O'Sullivan. Great athletes.
The Italian high jumper carrying the flag. The Italians, precocious in many of the events, distance running, steeplechase. Croatia, one of the 5 nations that are now represented of the old Yugoslavia, and what thoughts the Croatians and the other countries from Yugoslavia must carry into these World Championships with the problems they have back home. Latvia, who are so brave in making a breakaway early on. Kazanov and Bruzic amongst their great athletes. 2.5 million people in Latvia. Lithuania with Ubartas, their Olympic champion in the discus. We won't get gold medals from Luxembourg or Malta here, but they'll be competing just the same. Macedonia will be competing under the IAAF flag, the International Federation. It's a former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, because the Greeks threatened to withdraw if Macedonia participated under their own flag. See the Norwegians in the background. The Dutch will have an interesting team. Van Langen, I'm not sure if she's running the 800-metre woman who won the gold medal at the Olympics. It's doubtful. She's been injured most of this year. And when we speak Dutch athletics, their most famous was in 48 and 52, Fanny Blankers-Cohen, who dominated the hurdles and sprints. Norway, who had such tremendous women like Ingrid Christensen and Greta Weitz, have been successful as far as the men are concerned in the power events, in the shot put and the discus. The Austrians and the Poles not far away.
Poles, of course, had great tradition. Irina Shevchenko, the 400 and 200 metre Olympic champion. Proud tradition.
Austrian team were also in that group. 4 of their top sprinters, including their record holder Berger, went for anabolic steroids about a month ago, and after the first test, Berger said, "Don't bother with the second, we're guilty."
At least he's honest.
Well, in that regard, in retrospect. Portugal, who have grown so much with their distance runners. Lopez, their most famous, the Olympic champion in the 84 marathon. And they've had some other great ones. The Romanians, with their women distance runners so strong. And still the march goes on as the greatest athletes, and it's the truth, in track and field, make their way onto the arena here in Stuttgart for a celebration. And for just 40 of them, of the 1,800, there'll be a gold medal at the end of it all.
Of course, it's the added bonus as well. Any athlete, individual athlete who wins the gold medal here will receive a new Mercedes car worth 60,000 American dollars, freighted to their own country, tax paid. So they have an added bonus of going not only for the gold, but a brand new car as well.
The Russians we saw a few moments ago. What a battle it'll be in the pole vault with the brothers from the Ukraine, the Bubkas, Sergei and Vasily, taking on the might of Russia with Katalin and Chandenkov and the new Olympic champion Tarasov. Slovenia. Their best athletes, a long jumper, Bilac. 10.5 million people in Slovenia, formerly a part of Yugoslavia.
Very sporting public welcoming all these people here tonight. Full capacity crowd. They're really truly the spirit of these games.
Germans still to come out. Czechoslovakian Republic. Czechs broken up into the Slovak Republic. Not to be confused with Slovenia and the Czech Republic. Zelezny and Smelik, there are two great stars. Zelezny, the javelin thrower. Smelik, the decathlete. It is an historic occasion because it's the first time we've seen nations like Slovenia and Macedonia and Croatia represented. The Ukraine now being represented. We have a look at their athletes. And Bubka will be their great favourite. Doubtful he'll be marching. 34 world records. 3 world championships. Only man to have won the pole vault at the world titles. But he faces a very big test here. For so many years, the Ukraine provided so many medals for the Soviet Union and didn't receive the recognition, but they will be here. And wouldn't Bubka love to win a gold medal in those circumstances? The Hungarians with their pole vaulter who nearly beat Bubka carrying the flag, Modula, nearly beat Bubka in Tokyo in 1991. They've just come off a tremendously successful European Swimming Championships in Sheffield, England. And they'll have their moments here. Still the European march goes on. So the Africans, the Americans, the Asians, the group from Oceania, with the Australians, all waiting in the centre of the athletics field here. Last and certainly not least, the Germans. Maybe not as strong as they were when they had the Olympic Games in 1972. And East and West Germany were in Munich, but probably not as strong as they were in 1986 when the European Championships were here, when the East German women were dominating and they had such great decathletes, the West Germans. But they'll have a lot of medalists here, including the long jumper Heike Dreschler, and the high jumper Heike Henkel. High hopes again in the decathlon for men. Marathon, they've got the favourite Free Gang. Gee, if he comes into the stadium in first place, they'll test this roof, this new roof that's been put on.
They'll certainly have a lot to cheer about because this is their stadium and it's always nice for the host country to get a gold medal. Of course, they're without the services of Dieter Baumann this year. He's out with injury, gold medalist in the 5,000 metres.
In Barcelona, but opting out here, injured early on. Some people feel that not only the injury, but the pressure of being an Olympic champion coming into this stadium might have been too much. But the two Heikes have got that pressure here over the next week. Henkel in the high jump and Dreschler in the long jump.
Henkel, the more famous of the athletes at the present time, was reported in the papers the other day to be making $5 million since the Olympics. Certainly a lot of money.
Well, there's no doubt that the majority of medals will go to the Europeans, Americans and Africans. They'll take nearly all of the 40 gold medals. There'll be a sprinkling for Asia, and fingers crossed there might even be one for Oceania. And if there is, well, I doubt whether it'll be New Zealand, John. I think it might be the Australians if there is one from there.
Well, Simon Doyle at this present time, of course, in the track and field, he looks your best hope. But this won't be an easy championships to win any medal. The true greats, the world's best, are all here.
It's a thrilling moment in this stadium. The German team being celebrated all the way around. The Jamaicans looking on. And won't they be cheering when the gold medals are coming up for grabs?
Wouldn't this be nice for the year 2000 in Sydney, and the host country Australia leads into the stadium? You can imagine the cheers then.
Well, this stadium's seen some great events since the early 1930s when it was first built. Hosts of big football matches, European Cup finals, World Cup matches. Athletics has been to the forefront with the Europa Cup, but in particular the European Championships. We talked about that 1976 Rolling Stones concert as the dignitaries make their way down. Dr. Primo Nebbiolo, the president of the International Athletic Federation, Richard von Weizsäcker, who's the federal president of Germany, is here tonight, and Professor Dr. August Kirsch, the president of the organising committee of these World Championships. We've already seen Juan Antonio Samaranch in the crowd, the president of the International Olympic Committee. He'll be staying for the entirety of the championships, and more than 30 International Olympic Committee members here, men and the odd woman, who will be voting on September the 23rd. As the wave engulfs the stadium. German teams arrived. This is the president of the organising committee, Dr. August Kirsch.
Im Jahre 1991 beschloss der internationale Leichtathletikverband
In August
seine Weltmeisterschaft.
The Athletic Federation decided to stage the World Championships every other year. The first event of the new rhythm was awarded to Stuttgart. The three partners, the German Athletic Federation, the City of Stuttgart, and the Stuttgart Trade Fair and Congress Company, had less than 2 years for preparing this large sporting event. We think we made good use of the time available. we could continue the long tradition of sports and athletics in this city.
Insbesondere die Europameisterschaften 1986 dürfte noch bei allen in guter Erinnerung sein.
The European Championships in Athletics 1986 surely will be remembered at their best. It was arguably the most outstanding European Championships. Today we're pleased to welcome the athletes of more than 180 member federations of the International Federation under the new roof of the modernised Gottlieb Daimler Stadium. They represent the popular aspect of athletics. Without this basis, there would be neither any volunteers, coaches or assistants. I'd like to express my gratitude to all of them, and last but not least to you, dear spectators, for your interest and benevolent attitude. Let's look forward to great athletic competitions, and let us be captured by the fascination of athletics. I now have the honour to pass the floor to the President of the International Athletic Federation, Dr. Primo Nebbiolo.
Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Germany, distinguished guests, athletes of the world, ladies and gentlemen, as we begin this fourth IAAF World Championship in Stuttgart, we are on the eve of a magnificent moment in the history of world track and field athletics. Gathered here in Stuttgart are more athletes from more countries around the world than in any previous single athletics event ever. And now, for the next 9 days, Stuttgart will feature athletics competition at levels never witnessed before. From the proven champions to the aspiring young stars, every athlete present here will be competing for what has become one of the most coveted types in the modern sporting world, world champion in athletics. Indeed, this is one of the world's truly universal events. It remains our sincere hope that the world struggle of this atmosphere in Stuttgart may send a message to the world powers that youngsters from all countries can transcend the cultural, geographical, and political barriers which can cause conflict between peoples. I wish to thank the leaders of the Stuttgart 93 organizing committee and the people of the city of Stuttgart for your efforts and for your support. On behalf of the athletes and officials here in Stuttgart, I wish to express our profound gratitude to the Federal President of Germany for having decided to honor these championships with his participation in this ceremony. We accept your presence, Mr. President, as a true gesture of solidarity with our world athletics movement. Dankeschön, Stuttgart. Fundamental role that the IAAF plays in the Olympic movement it gives us great pleasure to know that with us today are many members of the International Olympic Committee, as well as their president and our friend Juan Antonio Samaranch.
Dr. Nebbiolo making reference to the high number of Olympic Committee members present, including that man, Juan Antonio Samaranch, the president of the IAAF.
The International Olympic Committee for their support. Above all, we welcome to Stuttgart all the athletes coming from 189 countries around the world. Dear athletes, we wish you the best of success and hope you may compete in loyalty and friendship for the honor of your countries and for the prestige of our athletic movement. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure and the honor to ask the Federal President of the Federal Republic of Germany to officially declare open the IAAF World Championship of Stuttgart 93.
Richard von Weizsäcker, the Federal President of the Federal Republic of Germany, to officially open the World Championships.
Athleten, die in den kommenden Tagen hier in Stuttgart ihre Kräfte messen werden.
Welcome all athletes who will be competing here in Stuttgart, all our guests from the participating countries, and you, dear spectators from near and far. I'm particularly pleased that this international event takes place here in Stuttgart, the city where I was born.
In meiner Geburtsstadt Stuttgart stattfindet. Ich wünsche Ihnen und uns allen bewegende Momente des Wettkampfes.
I wish you a nice day, moving and exciting moments, moments of competition and new impulses for the spirit of fairness in sport. And now the sentence that so many people have been waiting for.
Ich erkläre die 4. Leichtathletik-Weltmeisterschaft für eröffnet.
And in translation, I declare open the 4th IAAF World Championships in Athletics.